Hello and welcome to Fidelity Next on LinkedIn. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm your host, Emily Ananuevo, and I'm very happy to be moderating today's conversation all about a career in sales. Fidelity is known as one of the country's leading investment management companies, and alongside our investment team, we have an amazing group of sales associates and representatives who work alongside financial advisors to find different solutions for investors. Our sales representatives go through an extensive development program that is truly unique in this industry. And today's panel includes two exceptional members of that sales team who will share tips, insights, and advice about what it's like to work at Fidelity and what it's like to work in sales. Now, Patrick Farkas is manager of regional sales for Fidelity out of our Vancouver office, where he manages and supports a team of business development representatives, associates, and managers with their day-to-day. He started at Fidelity in 2015, where he began as an associate on the sales team. Jaime Ethier is a senior business development manager helping financial advisors navigate capital markets and Fidelity's ever-growing shelf of funds, ETFs, and liquid alternatives. She started as an associate on the sales team 8 years ago, and she also works out of our Vancouver office alongside Patrick. Welcome to you both. So happy to have you here, well, virtually. Hi, guys.
Thank you, Emily. Excited to chat with everyone.
Happy to have you here and happy to dive straight into this conversation all about a career in sales. Now, I wanted to open up the show and just talk about your journey to Fidelity. Now, was it sort of like landed here at Fidelity straight out of school, or did you get here sort of in a roundabout way? And were you both always interested in like finance, business, and investing? Jaime, how about I start with you?
Yeah, sure. So I came to Fidelity, as you said, 8 years ago. I do not have a background in finance. I studied English literature at university. I then did a number of jobs afterwards. I went and taught English in Japan. But I came back to Canada kind of looking for work, and I started in the industry, actually working for Vancity Credit Union, where I worked as a teller, and then I became an assistant. And that was kind of my foray into finance. And then I wound up at Fidelity shortly after, and it was been an amazing move, and I highly recommend it. So yeah, kind of a roundabout way, I guess you could say.
Absolutely, absolutely. Patrick, how about you?
Yes, thanks, Emily. So to give a bit of background on my journey, after I completed an internship at a credit union, I realized I wanted to do something in finance, but I wasn't really sure what was out there, what I wanted to do. And for how I got started, once I graduated from Bishop's University in Sherbrooke, Quebec, I moved to Vancouver for my now wife, Michelle, where she decided to do another degree at UBC. But I'd never been here before, so I hopped into the van, drove from Sherbrooke to Vancouver, didn't know anyone, so to kind of figure out what's out here in the world of finance, I went to some alumni events where I met someone at a charity event from Bishop's University. And they got me in touch with finance, with Fidelity, and I just loved what this person had to say about the firm. So eventually I got started as an associate at the beginning of 2015. A year later, I moved into the business development manager role, and then a few years after that, I moved into my current role now as manager of regional sales.
Excellent, excellent. And I just love how both of your backgrounds are so different and how you landed here at Fidelity is different, because speaking to other employees, isn't that the case where everybody has such a different, work experience and background before getting here? But when you get here, the environment, the work culture, it just empowers you to grow in your position and to learn more. So I just love those two different stories. Now, I wanted to get into sort of your roles and your day-to-day. Give us the Coles notes, okay? Patrick, why don't I start with you?
Okay, so for my day-to-day, it's quite the assortment. So everything from recruiting, hiring, promoting, some training. But it comes down to just supporting all the different sales teams in Vancouver in any way I can, and just try and make their lives as easy as possible and put out fires. So
putting out fires every day. That's great. And you talked about hiring and recruiting there in your description, and you will offer some interview tips later on this show, which I'm super excited about. Jaime, how about you? The Coles notes of what you do day in, day out.
Yeah, so my job, if I had to like distill it down to one sentence, is I advise advisors, financial advisors. So my day-to-day has a lot of variation. So I can be on the road, face-to-face meeting advisors. I can be behind my computer, either at home or at the office. But again, it all comes back to outreach to our clients, our advisors. So I am calling, giving market updates, giving product updates, of course. But a lot of that there's a lot of behind the scenes work that happens as well. So I do investment proposals for our clients, comparisons, basically supporting them and everything they need to give advice to their clients. So I do that from my computer. I do that also on the road. So when I'm face to face with them in meetings, and we actually sometimes do, actually quite frequently do, a lot of events as well. So maybe one night a week, we'll be going to a show or a concert. And that is to, of course, host our clients, but also really facilitate that trust and build that relationship with the clients as well. So as you can tell, it's a very varied, dynamic role. And that's one of the great things about it that drew me into it.
Okay, both your roles sound extremely busy. I don't know how you could keep up, but that leads me to my next question. I mean, in all seriousness, what keeps you motivated to do your job day in, day out? Are there any challenges along the way, and sort of what keeps you, growing in your position? Pat?
Yeah, I can kick that one.
Oh, sorry, Jaime. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I would say, I think there's a misconception out there, first of all, that to be in sales, that you have to be motivated by money. And while it's true, of course, that you can make a really good living in finance and in sales in particular, that shouldn't really be your only motivator. And in terms of speaking to your clients, you won't come across as genuine if you're only motivated by money. So personally, I am motivated by the fact that I can really help people. And I know that probably sounds counterintuitive, but you can really make an impact. And the way we do that is, again, we advise advisors on our product solutions, on markets, and they in turn then take that to their clients and help them build a strong financial picture for themselves, right? So that is one way that I feel like this job is really rewarding, and really what keeps me motivated is knowing that I'm making an impact for the end unit investor.
I love that motto. I love that philosophy, being motivated to helping people, not about being motivated by money. Patrick, how about you?
Yeah, so for my current role, where I really support everyone in the office, I would think for me, my biggest motivator is just seeing people grow, develop over the years. We're a firm that provide a lot of growth opportunities and promotion opportunities. So giving those promotions is the best feeling. And yeah, it's just really the group in the office. Awesome group of people here. So.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. If I could just add one thing is that, sales, this industry, the finance industry, like many businesses, it does tend to be cyclical, and you will inevitably, when markets are tough, times do get tough. So I think it's important to really look and find other ways to motivate yourself, because to be totally frank, there are times when your output does not feel like it equals the outcome of the scenario. So you have to dig deep and find other things to motivate you besides besides money, to be frank. So
yeah, absolutely. And that's absolutely wise words, because as we all know, our new normal is so different since the pandemic hit, 2.5, 3 years ago. It's a different way of working now, right? I mean, it's that mixed hybrid. It's you lose that social camaraderie amongst your coworkers, but you gain it when you're in the office once or twice. So, I mean, I totally agree with you, Jaime, in terms of finding different ways to stay motivated and going with the flow when, times are tough, and also when times are good. So, Patrick, I wanted to take this opportunity. I know you said that you obviously do a lot of recruiting and hiring and promoting. Let's share some interview tips with our audience, because we get so many questions and comments about how to ace that interview at Fidelity, how to present your best self forward. So I'm gonna start with you, Pat. If you can just talk about how to prepare best for an interview.
So a lot comes to mind, so I'll try not to rant too much here, but I think the most important tip that I can give is just do your research. So not only will it show that you're very interested in the role, they understand what it is, but also you'll just feel more confident, more ready. It'll calm your nerves. You can also research people who work in similar positions or just at the firm. You can just search them on LinkedIn, reach out to them, and this will show to the interviewers that you understand the role and that you could be a good cultural fit given you've spoken to people at the firm. Prior to the interview as well, not a lot of people do this, which is always a little surprising. But if you just look up the website and you look through products, services, history of the firm, look up information on the industry, and just take note of what catches your eye. This will show that you did your research, but it will really set you apart. Not a lot of people do that. Doesn't take long to do as well. And just prepare good questions to ask at the end of the interview. Just shows that you're prepared and interested. And if the interview is virtual, now in a post-COVID world, a lot of it is over Zoom, virtually. I would say just be careful. It doesn't look like you're reading a script, and just trying to make the flow more natural. Other things just to be aware of is kind of what's in the background. So if there's something that's distracting or you have poor lighting and things like that, just be aware of that. Some scenarios you might want to use a virtual background. Test your technology prior to the interview, so check your mic, your internet connection, just different things with audio. Try and ensure that your camera is eye level. That will maximize engagement. Additional things to look for too. Just silence notifications if it's like emails or Microsoft Teams or have your phone. Be respectful of time. So try not to talk too long as I'm ranting. I'm saying this, a bit of a hypocrite, but last comment here, just be aware of your body language, try and maintain energy, delivery, voice modulation, especially when it's virtual. You have to kind of give extra energy for that to come through the screen. Hand gestures, just all things to keep top of mind. I'm going to stop myself there before I go on too long.
It's such, what those tips are so practical in terms of how to set up your interview spot at home, because most things are done virtually. You're absolutely right about that. So don't be in a dark, dingy basement. Put some lights on. Add that extra energy on camera. Look straight into the camera like you're looking straight into their eyes if you were in person. So super practical information there. And like you said before, just don't Wikipedia the company. Like, you need to do research. Don't just skim it. Go be thorough. Like you said, reach out to people from the company, take notes, and ask good questions at the very end. All excellent advice. Jaime, I wanted to go to you. Knowing what you know now in your sales role, what kind of tips would you give the audience in terms of preparing for a sales interview?
Yeah, so I would say, first of all, I have to say, as I'm listening to Patrick talk, a lot of the skills that the prep work that he's talking about actually is prep work for the job itself, right? Sales is a lot about presentation and how you come across to people. So it's like a little warm-up session, your interview, for what the job could be like when you're interacting with clients. So I think that's awesome advice. But one thing that I think often comes up, and it's a dreaded question, is, tell us about a weakness, or a past time when you received critical feedback from a manager. How did you take it? And really, it's not a trick question. What the interviewer is looking for is to know that how you handled that in the past. They want to know that you're receptive to feedback. They want to know that you're open to learning and growing. So they want to know how you responded, right? So I know it's a very scary question, but there's a lot of cliche answers out there like, oh, I work too hard and that kind of thing. But really, it is a moment to show that you're self-aware. So just remember that. It's not a trick.
It's not a trick question, but I love that. No, you're totally right about that. Don't be discouraged when that, type of question comes out about your weaknesses or any failures or mistakes. Don't freeze up. It's an opportunity, like you said, to say how you overcame that challenge and how you shined in that situation. Patrick, I want to go back to you in terms of being a manager. How do you tackle this question? Tell me about yourself, right? So from a managerial perspective, can you give constructive feedback on how to tackle that question?
Yeah, so for this question, you can really take that in a lot of directions. So when I hear that question, I would say try and follow maybe the rule of three, where you just try and distill it down to three um, key themes you want the other person to take away. So here you can give a clear and quick overview of your education, relevant work experience, quick details on the thought process behind those decisions, and really try to tailor the highlights for the role that you're applying for.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I hope everybody's taking notes. This is a lot of great tips. Now, just lastly, Patrick, to wrap up this interview section, what are you looking for in terms of a candidate on your team? Like, can you list some characteristics, some criteria of who you're looking for in terms of a sales rep?
Yeah, so something that Jamie actually just said, I'll start off by saying resilience, where Jamie mentioned often it can be tough in capital markets. It's unpredictable. You have some highs and lows, so just control and focusing on what you can control. So I think resilience is important, and patience. The ability to constantly reinvent yourself, where in a very fast-growing industry, things are changing quickly. So all because a certain strategy or method or thing process has worked in the past for you doesn't necessarily mean it'll work going forward. So being open to new technology, new methods, communication. Part of why Jamie's so good at what she does, I think, is English major. So Jamie's a great communicator. Leadership's important, specifically for Fidelity. Given we always want people to grow and move up in different roles, people who want to grow or ambitious, people who are curious. We provide a ton of training, so it can be a lot. You want to lean into it, embrace it. You know, be open to that continuous learning. Be able to work in a team, strong social skills, and just people who are respectful. I think those are the key things we look for.
Excellent. Now, you mentioned training there, Patrick, and like I mentioned off the top of the show, our sales associates go through an extensive sales development program. Jamie, can you talk about that, elaborate a bit on that, about what the program involves?
Yeah, I would love to. It's one of the most valuable things I've gotten out of my career at Fidelity. What it is essentially a training program. So it takes you from that entry level role where you're starting out, you're learning the foundation of the business, the administrative side of things, and it will take you all the way up through to being a wholesaler. So a wholesaler is responsible for hundreds of advisors. They lead a team, and essentially what they do is they manage the sales and marketing strategy for Fidelity to that group of advisors. So it is, a very important role, but the sales development program preps you for every stage of that. So it's about 8 to 9 weeks. It's spread out. It covers everything from things like investment sophistication, so learning how to talk about investments, how to sound smart when you're talking about investments, to presentation skills. We even do things like etiquette training. We do even improv training, because you have to be able to think on your feet in sales, right? So it's a fantastic, absolutely fantastic program, and it's brought a lot to me, and it's been so invaluable, not just I think for sales, just for a lot of life skills as well. So yeah, it's taught me so much, and I've been so appreciative for it. So that is it in a nutshell.
That's incredible. I mean, I would never have guessed the improv and the etiquette training. Like, what an incredible range of topics and skills you can learn. And now, obviously, you went through that program, Jamie. So what would you say to somebody watching if they do go through that program? How do you make yourself stand out? Like Patrick said, lean into it, lean into the training, but how do you sort of make yourself stand out in that whole process?
Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of just touched on it, right? Like, lean into it, be engaged, embrace it. The program is designed very thoughtfully. They refine it every year. They bring in, like I said, tons of third-party speakers, as well as there's internal training as well. And it's all of it is there for a reason. So be enthusiastic about it. Of course, not every piece of it is going to resonate with you exactly, but the more you embrace it, I think the more you'll really get out of it. It is designed to make you the most effective, resourceful, and compassionate salesperson that you can, and you don't get any of that unless you're, as you said, you're leaning into it.
And Patrick, I'm going to go to you just to finish off this topic. I mean, what makes this program so unique?
The first thing that comes to mind is that we only promote from within, and that everyone has to start entry level, just like Jaime and I did. Mm-hmm. We use that pool of talent of entry level coworkers for promotions. It's very unique to us, and it gives you a very clear line of progression for people in advisor sales. And I've had this in some past roles where you get that anxiety of, okay, what's my next step? Where do I grow? What's next? And that removes that anxiety with that. Something else just to highlight, we talked about all the amazing training that we do. I think that our training program is hands down the best on the street. The reason for that, I think, is that we're a privately owned company, which makes us pretty unique as well. So we can spend money as we see fit that's best for long term. We don't have shareholders to report to, and we think training is so important. So that's where we invest our money. And I think that's why our training program is the best.
Okay, time is flying by, but I wanted to wrap the show with just this last question to both of you. Somebody who's watching now, if they're hesitant about stepping into the sales industry and landscape, what would you say to them in terms of making them think about this landscape in this industry? What advice would you impart on those? Jaime?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, I think sales kind of gets a bad rep, but it can be a lot more rewarding than think, right? If you work for a good firm, if you believe in the product or the service that you're selling, you can actually find it's quite a fulfilling role. So I would say don't be hesitant, be open to it. It's been great for me in so many aspects of my life. So I would say just give us a shot. It's great.
Absolutely. And Patrick, how about you?
Yeah, for those who are hesitant in starting in finance or specifically sales, I would just say keep in mind there's no perfect mold. I think sometimes people think, okay, you have to be this very outgoing, kind of extroverted person. We have some of our top people across the firm in this department. We have everything from very introverted to very extroverted. So I don't think there's that perfect mold. You don't have to have a degree in finance. Like Jaime just mentioned, finance wasn't her initial career path. We have people from all kinds of degrees and backgrounds. We basically teach everything. I think, Jaime hit the nail on the head too. Sales does get a bad rap. I view it more as like a consulting role for sure, really being an extension of the team of the financial advisors. So I think those would be the key things just to people to keep in mind.
All excellent advice and excellent tips. Jaime, Patrick, I just want to thank you both for spending some time with me and with the audience and sharing such valuable information and insights about what it's like to work at Fidelity and what it's like to work in sales. So thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Emily. Really enjoyed our conversation.
And with this topic fresh on your mind, this is the perfect opportunity to tell you that Fidelity Canada is constantly hiring for sales roles and a variety of other roles at our company. So scan this QR code and you will be directed to our careers page where you will find a link to open jobs and insights to our interview process and more. You can also find all this information at careers.fidelity.ca. Thank you so much for watching and hope to see you next time on Fidelity Next.